Yeah, so we're not even a weekend, and it is as bad as we thought. The stake starts now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Stakes. I'm Tara Setmayer. This is the Michelle Kinney. We are the co-founders of the Seneca Project, and we are here to go through this nightmare of the next 4 years all together. Consider us an emotional support group.
We're gonna go through some things.
Yeah, we're going to go through some things, but we're going to go through it together. I think it's important for people to feel like they're not alone. You're not alone. We are here with you, and we're also going to, over this time period, help arm you and inform you and inspire you and galvanize you to not obey in advance and to not feel as though there is no hope, because there is. May not feel like that. It's been a lot to absorb this week. It's been a lot. Yeah. Our last show last week was the final show of the Biden administration, and we were like, all right, well, here we go, folks. We're in it. We're officially in it now. And there's lots to talk about, lots to digest. But I think it's important that we say thank you to everyone who's with us. Welcome to the new folks who are with us. And yeah, where do we want to start, Michelle? I mean,
well, I want to start first because we promoted Harry.
Oh, yes.
Here this evening. Legal analyst, our good friend Harry Littman. He had to back out last minute because the fires in La Jolla are very close to his home. He could smell the smoke, and God bless him. He was emailing like, "Is it okay?" We're like, "Go!"
We were like, Harry, you live in California. You can smell smoke. You've been told to evacuate. Like, don't worry about us, please. Be safe.
Fine.
Right. We'll be fine. We miss you. We love Harry. We were looking forward to it, but I think this warrants a pass. He gets a mulligan.
Yeah, I would think so. Think so.
So prayers out to Harry Littman and everybody out there in harm's way in California again. One of the funny things, but not funny. It's one of those things where you kind of have to laugh so you don't cry. He's like, it's the fucking apocalypse. And I'm like,
I know that's When I read that, when I was reading his email, like hearing it in his voice, and I was like, I love it.
Me too. And I was like, and I responded back and I said, more ways than one, my friend. Stay safe. So that's the situation.
Yeah.
We'll get Harry back on. He's always available to us.
Yes.
And but we'll have him back on. So, but we're gonna go through some things through the show today. The inauguration. Yeah, Michelle's got.
I printed it.
Michelle had to print out all of the elements and the stuff that we're talking about today. But I just want to start with the inauguration for a second, because we had a back and forth and about like, were we going to watch it? Were we not going to watch it? And just thankful to everyone who joined us for our special inauguration episode on Monday, because it was one of those things where it was like, we all needed to be together, because I know that we weren't the only ones who were feeling the way we were feeling. And we wanted to give folks a place to come where they felt that they had community and a safe space and could kind of go through it all together. And big shout out to Jojo from Jurors, Joanne Carducci, who joined us, and our good friend Julie Rodzinski. Yes. And like I said on Monday, stay tuned. There will be more of all of us together coming soon. So
we make a good crew.
Yes. Somebody said we work well together. So we're gonna do something together. So stay tuned for that. And if you haven't liked and subscribed to our Seneca Project page, please do that. If you haven't signed up on our Seneca Project email, do that, because we started a new Seneca Project weekly roundup called the Seneca Snapshot that comes out on Wednesdays, but you only get it if you are signed up through our website for our email. So please do that and pass it along to your friends, because we're trying to build and we rely on all of you to help spread the word for us. So thank you for all of that. The inauguration, we watched it and we saw the dynamics, and we found out after the fact that the media, like CNN, were given certain directives not to say or do or expound on certain things concerning Donald Trump because we want to start new. We don't want your personal opinions on this. And I have to say, when we did the show on Monday, we didn't know this, but the fact that CNN didn't bring up that the inauguration was happening in the same location that the January 6th insurrection happened, that was inspired by Donald Trump, and when he didn't do anything about it, and CNN never mentioned this. Mm-hmm. It's outrageous.
Like, hello.
How do you
like, for real?
Cool
beans.
Look, CNN had a round of major layoffs again this week. And I think that's unfortunate. Some folks that I know from my days at CNN are no longer there now. And we see what's happening with Jim Acosta. Folks, we're going to have to do this ourselves. I've said this many times. That's why it's so important to support independent media like us, like Mary Trump, like Don Lemon. You know, there are those of us who are not compromising, and we're not compromising the truth. We're telling the truth because we have to. We have to. What's happening in our country right now is very scary shit. Yeah. And we have to mount a real resistance. Before we came on air, part of the executive orders that Donald Trump, sweeping executive orders this week, we've never seen anything like this before. Hundreds, so many that Trump himself didn't even know what was in some of them, including the January 6th pardons, which we'll get to in a minute, because I've been so incensed about it that I haven't even been able to, I wanted to do a direct-to-camera reaction, and I couldn't even muster the words, because every time I talk about it, I lose it. And it would have been expletive-laden, which probably wasn't going to be good for anybody. So we'll talk about that in a second. But right before we came on air, CNN reported that the deportation raids, these ICE raids, are beginning. And specifically in my home state of New Jersey, the mayor of New Jersey and the congresswoman that represents Newark, New Jersey, the largest city in New Jersey, said that ICE raided private businesses without a warrant. That's the part that sends the shivers down the spine, the without the warrant part.
That's Gestapo shit.
Correct. Because we have warrants for a reason. We have the Fourth Amendment for a reason, right? That you're not allowed to have unlawful search and seizure. You're supposed to have warrants because so you don't have the Gestapo busting down doors of private residences or businesses without a lawful order. This is the part that matters. Now, ICE does their raids all the time. It happens. That's what they do, right? They're immigration enforcement. But if it's in a public place, they can come in. But like if it's a back room, or if it's like your private residence or the private, back offices of a business, they're not allowed to go there without a warrant. And it's still developing. But it seems that this is what's happening now across the country. I think Boston was another place that they were talking about this. Where I live in Northern Virginia, there's a large Hispanic Latino community here. A lot is undocumented. A lot of them, there's a large illegal population here too. But there were reports that ICE was hanging around the train station and hanging around like the government buildings and the churches and schools. Not okay, because that's something else that Trump is saying, that, hey, places like churches and schools, they're not off limits anymore. They're not off limits. People are scared to death. And this is, there's a lot of emotion behind immigration enforcement. I'm a border security hawk. I worked on this issue. I think that there's a lot of things we need to crack down on. But this is not the way to do it. It's not the way to do it. It's cruel and inhumane. And this is schools and churches are not where the worst of the worst criminals that Trump claimed they were, right. That Trump claimed that that's who they were going to focus on first. Bullshit.
Listen, Donald Trump has made it very clear that he only wants a certain kind of person, certain kind of people to live and be free in this country. Those people are not dark-skinned, brown-skinned. They're not immigrants. They're not Black people. This is a man whose family business was sued by the NAACP for not renting to Black families. This is a man who took out a full-page ad in the New York Daily News. I believe it was the Daily News.
Might have been the Post.
Could have been both. I don't know.
Yeah. Or the New York Times, even. That full-page Central Park 5 thing. Go ahead, keep going. Right. I'll look it up.
Calling for the execution of 5 innocent young Black men who were later exonerated.
One is now a member, city council member, right? New York.
Yeah. It actually in Harlem. And my friend actually ran his campaign. Very, very nice man.
It's a great story. They came out when we were at the DNC. They came out. Central Park 5. It was really emotional.
I absolutely lost it. I was really struggling emotionally because it was so moving. So I say all this to say, there's also a congressional hearing that you can look up. You can Google it. Donald Trump being questioned by a member of Congress about, I forget what it was, like casino licenses or something like that. And I'm quoting him. He's like, they don't look into me.
Yeah. He's a racist. Mary Trump has told us this. She wrote it in her book. She tells us all the time. They use the N-word all the time, very freely in their household. So it's clear. It's clear. And all the people of color, Snoop Dogg and these rappers that were like, oh, it was an honor and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. You idiots. All you people who voted for Donald Trump. Yeah. What else did he do with the sweeping pen this week? Got rid of all the diversity and inclusion and equity and inclusion programs in the federal government and told people there's a directive to have their colleagues snitch on each other if they see that there's been a DEI program that was renamed to try to hide the program. We want you to tell us about those hires and those programs, and you've got 10 days to do it or there'll be, quote, adverse consequences. What are we doing? He also got rid of this anti-discrimination laws that were the guidance that was in place since 1965 to stop discrimination in hiring in government contracting. That's gone. What else? Oh yeah, there it is. Campaign urges people to tattletale on their fellow employees. Gets rid of birthright citizenship, which is controversial. Some people call them anchor babies, that if you come here illegally and you have a baby, the baby on American soil is an American citizen. You may not be, so you have a blended family. And usually, if your kid here is an American citizen, they don't throw you out too. And it's because of birthright citizenship, which all goes back to the 14th Amendment and protecting free slaves. So a judge has already thrown that out. They said, this is unconstitutional. That was a Reagan-appointed judge, by the way. And the judge said that in the 40 years that I've been on the bench, there's never been anything more clear. Clearly unconstitutional. Now, this is going to make its way through the courts. Trump and his people knew, his cronies, they knew that this was going to get challenged in court. And they're hoping that the Supreme Court takes it up. And who knows what happens.
God knows. I really, honestly, I don't know. I don't know what will happen there, because there's a couple people who I know will vote to say strike it, and that'll be Alito, that'll be Thomas,
another self-hating person of color. Go ahead.
I don't know about the rest though. I really don't.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to something that has been clearly settled for so long about the constitutionality of it, this is a little different than even Roe. I don't know. I don't know that they would overturn this. Even you have some Republicans coming out saying, like, look, the only way to change this is through a constitutional amendment. Yeah, that's correct. But that doesn't mean that someone isn't going to introduce one. They've done it many times before. This idiot Representative Andy Ogle, I guess his name is, from wherever, has already introduced an amendment so that to allow Donald Trump to run for a third term. That shit's starting already. So
these people that live in these places elect these crazy moron people and then terrorize the rest of us. I will never understand. I have a clip here from Jamie Raskin talking about the 14th Amendment.
Oh, good. Constitutional law expert here.
Issue. That doesn't move America forward. It's just like they demagogue the issue of inflation.
Whoops.
Unbelievable that a lot of my friends on the other side of the aisle are sitting by idly while Donald Trump proposes by executive order to destroy Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, which establishes that everybody born in the United States is a citizen of the United States. And yet they just let that go. All of these originalists and textualists who claim to care about what the Constitution stands for, that was the whole purpose and meaning of the 14th Amendment, and now they want to destroy birthright citizenship in America, moving to a citizenship based on race instead of a citizenship based on place, which was the whole purpose of the 14th Amendment, to overturn the Dred Scott decision. Well, we're obviously going to have some differences moving forward because they don't want real solutions. They just want to demagogue the immigration issue. That doesn't move America forward. It's just like they demagogue the issue of inflation. They said they were going to bring down prices in rent, in utilities, energy costs. They said they were going to bring down the price of groceries. Not a single peep from them about that on day one. No, it's just about releasing all the violent insurrectionists, the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers who are out there today saying that they want revenge. That's the real program for America. But
yes.
Yep.
Yes, Jamie Raskin and the rest of the Democratic Party should pick up that same messaging and repeat it over and over and over and over again. Because the first acts in office are usually demonstrate what the priorities are going to be for that administration. And not one of these things has shit to do with bringing down affordability or the price of freaking eggs.
Nope.
Okay? None of it. I was just on MSNBC and at last hour before our show started, and we were talking about the January 6th pardons and now how these emboldened bastards are talking about retribution, and they believe that it's their turn now. That came from Enrique Tarrio, who was the head of the Proud Boys, that was sentenced to 22 years on seditious conspiracy, which is like half a step below treason. Yeah. And then you have Stuart Rhodes, who was the head of the Oath Keepers, who got 18 years and was released. Got a hero's welcome up on Capitol Hill, which is just fucking disgusting. And I just cannot. These guys get pardons for harming police officers, almost killing police officers, hundreds of them, and trashing our Capitol. And Donald Trump goes, nah, yeah, they deserve it. And the Oath Keeper guy who gets out, the judges that sentence these people, they're not only them, there are a bunch of other really dangerous people who are saying that it's time for revolution. This guy, DJ Rodriguez, yeah, it's time for revolution. Well, Stuart Rhodes said that he wanted to hang Nancy Pelosi, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, he said, he regretted that, but doesn't regret anything else. And he's up there with Lauren Boebert and these other assholes.
Yeah, there's a picture of him having lunch at the Capitol yesterday. And, Lauren Boebert, I have a note here. Lauren Boebert, if you remember, on January 6th was live tweeting. She was brand new, just sworn in, live tweeting the location of Nancy Pelosi and other ranking members of Congress. She was one of the first, if not the first, to offer personal and private tours of the United States Capitol to these insurrectionists who had been released from prison, which is honestly just so sickening. The Congresswoman Velasquez from Queens, New York's 7th Congressional District, had something to say just a couple hours ago. I'm going to play this.
Those people were criminally convicted, and Donald Trump didn't care a bit about safer communities when he released those who were convicted of beating the shit out of police officers. So don't come to us and talk about security and safer communities when you do that. Well, Mr. President, convicted felon released 1,600 people.
I love it. Good for her.
There
More.
is a shift that is happening in Democratic leadership. It's not fast enough, but there is a shift and it is happening. It's noticeable. People are speaking their minds, they're speaking from their guts and their souls, and like just talking like normal human beings in a way that is relatable, that really speaks to the anger that
Finally
are feeling. Finally. Tara sent me something today about, oh God, it was something like they were having a meeting about how to be viral, and they were talking what was his name? Why am I blanking on his name? About his tuna melt.
Yeah.
Christ.
It was, I think it was Warner, right?
Warner.
My senator here in Virginia.
I was like, guys, you're so, like, it's so corny. And they were talking about, like, back over the summer, they were saying that the Republicans are weird, which they are. Yeah. And that was great. But then they like backpedaled on it because people are like, don't say that's weird. Like, guys, stick to something. Okay. When the other team is overthrowing elections or attempting to, they're trying to coup us and doing all kinds of other crazy things. Maybe it's okay just to insult them or say a swear word once in a while. Like, it's okay.
It's all right.
It's
gonna be all right. You can talk like you normally talk,
right?
Within reason.
Within reason. I mean, don't go up there and go f because that's as much as I'm sure they'd love to.
I know.
But I do just want to say the names here briefly of the officers who passed away as a result of January 6th, because I do believe that they deserve the respect of us to remember who they are. And I apologize in advance if I am mispronouncing anyone's name. Officer Brian Sicknick, Officer Jeffrey Smith, Officer Howard S. Liebengood, Officer Gunther Hashida, and Officer Kyle DeFreytag. These are officers from the Capitol Police and the Metropolitan Police who died of suicide or other extenuating or inflicted injuries like Officer Sicknick did.
Mm-hmm. And his family is suing. They're suing Donald Trump.
As they should. And I'm reading here because I think it's important to say that the U.S. Capitol Police Sergeant Gunnell, who's a friend of Tara's, was hit with an American flagpole and a bat. At one point fell to the ground and was dragged by a group that beat and insulted him. He told investigators that he could feel himself losing oxygen as he was crushed by rioters. Metropolitan Police Officer Daniel Hodges. He is the person that we see in that clip all the time being crushed between the doors, screaming for his life. Former DC police officer Michael Fanone. They dragged him down the Capitol steps, tasered him, beat him unconscious. He suffered a heart attack, concussion, and a traumatic brain injury. And Capitol Police Officer Harry Dunn, catastrophic injuries, including fractures to all 4 of his limbs, some of which were open in nature, and a fracture to his pelvis that caused severe internal blood loss. These are not scratches. These are not minor incidents, which the President of the United States said just yesterday on Fox News. I'm going to play this clip. Hold on.
So you did run on a platform. You were very straightforward. You said you would pardon these people that were sentenced for January 6th.
No, totally.
You did. The only criticism or pushback I've seen is about people that were convicted or were involved in incidents where they were violent with police. Why did they get a pardon?
A number of reasons. Number one, they were in there for 3.5 years, a long time.
Right.
And in many solitary confinement, treated like nobody's ever been treated so badly. They were treated like the worst criminals in history. And you know what they were there for? They were protesting the vote because they knew the election was rigged and they were protesting the vote. And that you should be allowed to protest a vote. You should be allowed to. You know, when the day comes,
you shouldn't be able to invade the Capitol.
No, ready? Most of the people were absolutely innocent. Okay, but forgetting all about that, these people have served horribly a long time. It would be very, very cumbersome to go and look. You know how many people we're talking about? 1,500 people. Almost all of them should not have been. This should not have happened. And the other thing is this, some of those people with the police, true, but they were very minor incidents, okay? You know, they get built up by a couple of fake guys that are on CNN all the time.
Nobody watches.
They were very minor incidents, and it was time.
Yeah. So
Okay.
first of all, I have a correction because I was looking at the wrong thing. So I apologize. Tara, you can correct me.
Oh yeah, no problem. Harry Dunn didn't suffer those injuries.
I apologize.
It was a different Harry Dunn, but that's okay. He
I
suffered.
apologize. I wanted to.
No. I just
went through and I found the wrong thing.
That's okay. It's all right. He did suffer considerable emotional and mental health issues, and he's been an advocate for mental health for law enforcement officers.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, because if you've ever seen Harry Dunn in person, he's a very big, strapping guy.
Yeah.
And they called him all kinds of names, but those MFers weren't trying to come for Harry Dunn because he's a big dude.
Yeah.
But he was trying to, he was part of trying to protect his fellow officers and things like that. And thankfully he didn't suffer the physical as badly, but the everything else, the attacks on him and all of the things that, he got called the N-word, and it was awful for all of them. And he's been a big advocate for mental health for police officers as well. But Sergeant Kinney, in addition to those injuries that you read off, he had several surgeries on his hand. And when he testified about getting sprayed with bear spray, so many chemical irritants, it was so bad that when he went home, he finally got home to his wife, that he would not let her hug him. Yeah. He told her, "You don't touch me," because he was so full of chemicals from being sprayed by those bastards that day. And he had to retire. He lost his career. He was also, not only did Sergeant Kinney serve honorably as a Capitol police officer, he was actually Harry's boss, sergeant. But he served in our military. Mm-hmm. He came here from the Dominican Republic and served in our military. And he said that experience was worse than what he saw in war. Okay. He lost his career. So did Michael Fanone. He lost his career as well. And to be honest, what Michael Fanone went through with his other law enforcement officers in the Metro PD, the DC Police Department, he was treated like a pariah. Yeah, because he spoke out, which breaks my heart as someone who grew up with the thin blue line as a no-brainer. That brotherhood was unbreakable where I'm from in New Jersey, in New York and New Jersey. I don't know what happens down here. My husband says the same thing. It's a different thing. I don't know, maybe because there's so many law enforcement agencies and everybody's trying to compete with everybody else and they don't have respect. I don't know. Yeah. But it's a different brotherhood where I'm from. And to think that Michael Fanone did not get the support from his fellow officers at the MPD, that is infuriating and breaks my heart. Yeah. And he talked about how his mother has been targeted by these bastards, how his 76-year-old, 79-year-old mother was out raking leaves and with feces was thrown at her. She was swatted. So this is what Donald Trump has unleashed by pardoning these people. He's emboldened them. And these cowardly Republicans on Capitol Hill that seem to justify this and say that it's just fine and that we need to move on. Well, it's a new term. The American people voted in. They knew Donald Trump said he was going to do this. It's time to move forward. I have a healthy 2-word response to that. Fuck you. Okay? Because you guys are a bunch of wusses that you wouldn't even meet with these officers. You wouldn't dare look these officers in the face and tell them to move on. You're so confident in your position that you guys are doing the right thing. Look look in the face of those officers and their families and the ones the ones who haven't spoken out. Okay, there's more than just those 4. They're the bravest ones to speak out and risk their lives and their careers to do it, and God bless them for it. But there were 147 other officers who were hurt really badly, and hundreds of others who responded that went through that. Look them in the face and tell them to move on. Look them in the face and tell them that it didn't happen. If that was Black Lives Matter, it'd be a whole different story. So they're hypocrites on top of that. Okay?
Right. Trump would have called the National Guard within 30 seconds. I mean, let's be real.
And they wouldn't be sitting there telling everybody just move on. Could you imagine? They're still whining and bitching about what happened in Portland when a couple idiots, set fire to a Portland courthouse. And that wasn't okay. Nobody's justifying that. But this is not a situation for whataboutism. It's not. No,
but they love to. They love to. And I want to talk about that for just a second.
Yeah.
Because, Jim Acosta, who is one of the best reporters at CNN, what a great person.
Love him.
They are moving him to the graveyard shift.
Trying to, yes.
At midnight, which is a time that CNN usually runs reruns of like documentaries and like other stuff.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the only people who puts pressure on those in power who are doing wrong by the American people. He exemplified that during the first Trump administration when he was White House correspondent for CNN.
Yep.
He was banned from the press briefing room by Donald Trump and his administration.
They had to sue to get his press credential back. They had to sue. CNN had to go to court to get his press credential reinstated. And he wrote a book called Enemy of the People because of what Donald Trump was doing to the press in the first term.
Yeah. So he had on
Tim Burchett.
Tim Burchett.
Yeah. Right? I think it's Burchett.
Yeah. Who cares, honestly?
Whatever.
He sucks, and I don't really care.
Yeah. Tennessee.
He was on with Jim Acosta, and Jim Acosta, in his most Jim Acosta way, held his feet to the fire and made him answer. And the whataboutism. They refused to acknowledge. And the thing is, they were all there. They were all there. They saw it with their own eyes. They were hiding under desks and whatever else, just like everybody else was.
Yep.
Listen to this. It's pretty infuriating. Let me play this.
So infuriating.
You agree with President Trump's decision to pardon these violent people and releasing them from jail?
If they were truly violent, no. But do I know that they were? I don't know that.
What do you mean you don't know that? We're showing the footage on the air right now. Congressman, you were there that day. There are offenders on January 6th who violently beat police officers. There are offenders who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. That is the truth.
This is a political world, Jim, and I don't remember you all on CNN condemning Joe Biden for commuting the sentences of murderers and child molesters, which he did. And you all
Congressman, I'm not asking you about that. Congressman, we talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
You never do, Jim.
Congressman, we did talk about it. We talked about Joe Biden's pardons.
Oh, Jim, you did not. You all read your report from the Democrat National Committee, as you always do,
that
and
is
you attack
absolutely
Americans.
False. Congressman,
no.
Are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what isn't right.
You're a congressman. You're a member of Congress.
Yes,
you're an elected official. Take a stand.
They were not given due process. I told you if they crossed the line, they were trespassers. Should they rot in jail for the rest of their lives in a federal penitentiary and never be charged?
Beating police officer, tasing police officers,
Jim,
seditious conspiracy.
What you're forgetting to say is the ones that he didn't release. Why did he not release those? There are several that he did. This blanket thing you're all talking about is not a blanket.
1,500 of them.
There were several that he didn't for those very same reasons. Why are you not focusing on them?
Congressman, we're talking about the leader of the Oath Keepers, the leader of the Proud Boys. They should be released from prison?
What about the leader of the FBI? What about the FBI?
What about?
In that mess,
Congressman, the leader of the FBI was not rioting at the Capitol that day and beating up police officers. Whatever happened to Back the Blue? I want to show this.
Yeah, whatever happened to Back the Blue? You know, this is not something I talk about all too often because my dad was a firefighter. It's a different world, but I do come from a law enforcement family also. My great-grandfather, my grandfather, my uncle, and my cousin, all cops. My great-grandfather was a New York City police officer.
Very cool stories, by the way, which we may have to share at another time
another
when it comes
show.
up. But very cool.
Very cool. And you know, he like I think about them and like the danger that they're put in. I mean, my great grandfather, again, I'll tell the story another time, received a Medal of Honor from Mayor LaGuardia for being shot at in a crowd and not shooting back. You know, putting his life in danger. This is back in like, I forget, the 30s or 40s. I'm sure my mom will text me and tell me. But you know,
let us know.
Yeah, I mean, they put themselves in danger, and like, you know, I am very critical of police officers as well, because I think that I hate to use the word bad apple because I think it's overused, but there are some bad cops who do bad things, and there's a lot of bias going on in this country that unfortunately endangers the lives of many, many, in particular, Black men in this country. Yeah. So I am very critical of police officers. However, I do have the utmost respect for the sacrifice and the danger that they put themselves through, and their families, quite frankly.
Yes.
So, you know, for them to be, you know, like they're just, it's so selective. And I'm preaching to the choir here. Everybody, I'm sure, is agreeing with this, but it's just so awful. And to go back to the Stuart Rhodes from the Oath Keepers is made up primarily, if I'm not mistaken, of a lot of former police officers, right?
Police and military.
Police and military who have been radicalized and are, you know, joining militia groups and extremist groups and terrorist groups, domestic terrorist groups. And Stuart Rhodes in particular is a very, very dangerous man. Jim Acosta interviewed his ex-wife the other day. She was saying that she is in great danger.
Yeah, fear of her life.
And for her safety.
Yep.
And, you know, same with Michael Fanone, to your point of all the things his mother has been through, his family. He has kids. He has a family. And
kids.
Yeah, right. Big family. And
they all got alerts about that, you know, because you have to understand that Fanone and Harry Dunn and Sergeant Gunnell, like Hodges, these guys and others, they have testified with victims' impact statements in court. With a lot, there's hundreds of these fuckers. And these guys have gone to court to give victim impact statements. So they know who all these people are. And they were getting alerts on their phones that each one was being released. Michael Fanone had to go to the local county courthouse to try to get protective orders. He's trying. I don't know if he got them or not, but protective orders for some of these people to try to protect him and his family from them. Yeah. This is nuts. There's like something so fundamentally wrong with this. So wrong with this. I mean, on Monday when we did our show, we hadn't heard this yet, but when Denver and we knew about that, but Denver Riggleman, because he was part of the January 6th committee folks that Biden gave the blanket pardons to, and the officers, Harry Dunn and Sergeant Gunnell and all of them. And, you know, I was texting with Den. Den was like, I don't want this pardon. I didn't do anything wrong. Same thing with Sergeant Gunnell. He was like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was doing my job upholding the rule of law and my oath of office. Why am I getting a pardon? And then these people, the next day, not the next day, that night, Donald Trump, one of the first things he did, he said he was going to do it. So I'm not shocked that he did it, but the dagger that I felt when he did do it, it was tears of rage that night. I was like shaking because it was like the reality of him actually doing it. And I've unfriended a lot of people on my Facebook page. There are people where I have no room whatsoever for anyone who voted for Donald Trump and tries to make an excuse for this. None. Don't talk to me about anything. You don't get to divorce this part of what Donald Trump and MAGA represents from all the other things that you think were just going to, it's going to be better, or you didn't want to vote for a woman or whatever, or some made up trans, phobic bullshit that you're making up. You don't get to divorce those things from this, because it's like if you break it, you own it. Well, if you break it, you bought it, and you bought all of it. You have to live with this hypocrisy and this affront to our men and women in uniform every day. Between that and Pete Hegseth about to get confirmed as our defense secretary, which is another affront to everyone in our military. And I'm sorry, if Pete Hegseth was a woman, if he was a person of color, he would never get this consideration. Ever, 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 ever. The freaking double standard is insane. Tulsi Gabbard, right? The woman, she's not qualified because she's not qualified for all the reasons.
And she's nuts.
And she's a loon. But guess what? Oh, she might be a bridge too far. But Pete Hegseth, who is a drunk, a serial womanizer, potentially domestic abuser, according to his ex-wife and other people and his own mother, and someone who mismanaged a small veterans organization, this guy gets deference. This guy gets a pass. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And shame on you, Joni Ernst, of all the people to vote for him as a military person and a sexual assault survivor. Yeah. My God. You
say
fucking coward.
But I can, and it sucked. Like, this is where I'm like, where's the line for your own moral compass?
Yeah.
So
because she was worried about a primary. Too bad. Too bad. Some things are bigger than a primary. Have some balls. My God.
And dig in, quite frankly. You know, be like, dare people. Yeah, you want a primary? Go ahead. I stood up for what was right. I stood up for, you know, the right thing for women everywhere. I mean, Tara and I speak about this on the show. We speak about it online, to each other privately, to our families. We wouldn't be who we were if we did not stand up and try to do the right thing.
Yep.
We try to practice what we preach in our own lives. And I guess it is just not in my DNA to understand people who aren't like that. Like, I don't get it.
I've tried, I tried, but I don't know why we have to try to understand those people instead of them demanding better.
Civility street.
That's right. Civility is a two-way street, as Michael Steele very poignantly made the point during his chastising of Joe Scarborough, which we loved. Yes, Senate votes to advance Pete Hegseth. That happened this afternoon. And, at least Susan Collins and Murkowski did the right thing. I'll give them credit where they deserve. They did the right thing.
I'll give them that. And before we move on to the next thing, I want to play this quick clip of Michael Fanone on CNN. I believe it was.
Oh, yes. I just want to give him a hug, man. And if there's any billionaires out there,
seriously,
why don't you? If I had that kind of money, Michelle and I talk about this all the time. Those guys would live wherever they wanted.
Portugal and go. Bye.
Yeah, wherever they wanted, they'd be set up for life. Yeah. And like the fact that these guys have GoFundMes and they're scraping and scrapping to try to take care of their families. They are heroes, okay? These are patriots. They're heroes. They represent the best of us, and they're the ones that are being vilified by MAGA. There's something wrong with that. Something really wrong with that.
Yep.
Yeah, please show Michael Fanone.
Here's the clip.
I mean, this is what I would say to Stuart Rhodes. Go fuck yourself.
Okay.
You're a liar.
We didn't obviously get to beep that word out, but obviously this is personal to you, Michael. This is very personal to you. Have you been getting any threats? You talked about safety. You worried for your safety and for your family. Have you been getting any direct threats?
I never stopped getting.
Yeah, he says
exactly.
I never threats.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, I've had the opportunity to spend some time with Michael Fanone at events, and I, the pain that he's feeling and the anger is so palpable for him, because he feels betrayed by his country, and he has been absolutely betrayed. They all have. And I'm glad, he pulls no punches. I love him for that. And I just, the Pamela Brown pearl clutching at that, like, stop it. Okay.
That's bothered me. I was like, maybe be more upset about what he's upset about.
Correct. Not worrying about the fact that he said fuck on cable news.
Who gives a shit?
Exactly.
And also, it's not illegal to say the F word on cable.
It's not
frowned upon. They don't like it. It's not broadcast. It's very different.
That's right.
So,
stop with the, we didn't have a chance to bleep it out. Shut up. Okay. What do you mean? That's raw emotion there.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Like, what is this? The PBS NewsHour? Stop it. Like, I can't. It's not Sesame Street. It's real life. And this, again, is part of the whole, like, oh, you're pearl clutching over that, but you're not upset over Stuart Rhodes and Eric and Enrique Tarrio and these other bastards talking about it's time for a revolution. It's time for us. And we should go and investigate the people who did this to us. I can't. Like I can't.
And one last thing, I just
dry January for me, by the way. Dry January, fuck that. Okay, there's no dry January for me. We are like, there's wine involved in making it through this.
Nobody got time for that. Nobody.
No, God bless folks that are doing dry January. But
I know, it's because like I don't drink very much anymore, just because I'm getting older and I just.
Yeah, I mean I don't either, but
and I've sometimes when that whiskey hits your lips, you're like, yeah, I can get through this.
Yeah. There have been beverages involved this week though a couple times. I have to say,
no judge. One of the last January 6th stories I just want to touch upon. This story came out today, which is crazy.
Oh yes.
So I saw this Matt Pierce on Blue Sky. Okay, post this headline from Washington Post. Johnson aide advised against subpoena of star January 6th witness over concerns about sexual texts from lawmakers, plural, more than one. The move was intended in part to prevent the release of sexually explicit texts that lawmakers sent to Cassidy Hutchinson. First of all, name their asses. So, I mean, it's just...
by the way, Loudermilk is the guy that they're starting another January 6th committee. People, they want us to move forward, but they're going to start another January 6th committee to investigate what exactly?
Yeah, investigate the investigators. It's just like how they have the anti-weaponization of government group.
Right.
That's exactly what they do. It's just crazy. I'm
reading the.
Oh yeah.
This is nuts. Okay. It says right here, it says, an aide to House Speaker Mike Johnson advised Republican colleagues against subpoenaing former White House aide Cassidy Hutchinson as part of their investigation into the January 6th attack in an effort to prevent the release of sexually explicit texts that lawmakers sent to her, according to a written correspondence reviewed by the Post and a person familiar with the effort. The aide intervened last June, citing concerns that a subpoena could expose the texts, according to correspondence. The person requested anonymity, blah, 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 blah. President Trump and his allies seek retribution against perceived political enemies, including those who investigated his role in the Capitol attack. So this is absolute bonkers. And, again, shout out to Cassidy Hutchinson, who was only 25 years old when she came out and testified in front of Congress for the January 6th hearings in the summer of 2020. Was it 2022?
Something like that. I lose count.
2022, I guess. Yeah. I mean, again, more courage in her pinky than the entire Republican Party today in 2025. Mm-hmm. And I hope somebody releases those texts. She should release them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can't get any worse.
Yep.
Out them. Not like it's going to do anything now, but
still. It won't matter, but like, let them wear that stain. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, let's wear it. You know what? She's not doing anything wrong. She's just telling people what they did.
Yes.
You don't want people to know what you do. Don't do it.
That's right. It's
it's
out freaking outrageous. Just outrageous. And again, it's like we look at everything that's going on and we look at, how do we, because even Michelle and I are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like it's so much.
It's it can happen here. No, it is happening here.
It's happening.
It is
happening.
And to that point, I just want to go back to the inauguration for just a second here. And I know we have so many things to go through and not enough time. But Elon Musk and the Nazi salute.
Oh yes.
Hand gesture. We're not going to call it his arm thing. We're not gonna. It was a Nazi salute. Let's all be real.
Strange arm gesture.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So we went live on Monday after the inauguration, and we broke in to talk about this.
Yeah, in real time.
And I want to show you. This is a newspaper in Germany. They had to cover his arm in the picture because it is illegal to show any Nazi imagery in Germany.
But it wasn't. It was a strange arm salute, Michelle. Come on.
Gesture. So I looked at, because I wanted to give some context here and I don't know how to speak German, Danish, whatever. Not going to try to say it, is a German national weekly newspaper published in Hamburg in Germany. The newspaper is generally considered to be among the German newspapers of record and is known for its long and extensive articles. So here is the translation. It is a Hitler greeting is a Hitler greeting is a Hitler greeting. That is me going into Google Translate, and that's what that means. And I wanted to show here too, like, I'm not, we're not making it up. It is against the law to do this there. And and quite frankly, if the white nationalists and the Nazis, the self-proclaimed Nazis, are saying, "Ooh, cool," maybe that's
maybe it's a fucking Nazi salute. Yeah, how about that?
I put together just a short little video here of white nationalist Nick Fuentes. This
guy.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play it. Here
just play it.
With intensity, Roman salute. And then the straight up, that was a serious Roman. It wasn't even like a subtle, like a wave, like one of these, like a Laura Ingraham. Remember when Laura Ingraham did that? That was a straight up, Sieg Heil, loving Hitler energy. that was like a straight up, with intensity, Roman salute.
Yep. When Michelle put that together, I sent that to her, and I was like,
"What just happened?"
That's okay. I got you. I knew you were coming back. I was still on air, so I knew that you were around somewhere.
My Chrome just shut down. I have no idea. It's crashed.
It's the Nazis. It's the Nazis.
Honestly, it might be.
I mean, look, I have been raging about this all week because of what you put up there, the Orwell quote, because this is Orwellian. It's so Orwellian, telling us not to believe our eyes and ears and to deny it. Same thing with January 6th, with what the Republicans are doing. It is really Orwellian in so many ways. But even there were people, even my mom, and my mom is my mom is like me. I mean, I'm like my mother. And so we were having breakfast the other day, and she's like, I don't know, was it really the salute? He's a little autistic. And maybe I said, Mom. And then I went through the whole thing about his support. He grew up in apartheid. Mm-hmm. His support for the neo-Nazi party in Germany. He has platformed neo-Nazis on Twitter to the point where it's such a sewer that I will be exiting Twitter soon. We are working on the transition, but it's all about Blue Sky. So if you don't follow us on Blue Sky, please follow us on Blue Sky. It's so much nicer there. And it's Twitter-like in its style. It's very easy to navigate. So everybody go to Blue Sky. But I went through the whole thing, and then I was telling her, I said, even the Nazis saw that as a symbol. The neo-Nazis were like, oh, yes, thank you. We finally, they're not even hiding it anymore. So after I kind of went through ticked off all of the reasons why I was not giving him the benefit of the doubt, she was like, yeah, okay, you're right. You know what I mean? It's not the Asperger's. It's not like he's just socially awkward. All of those things are true. But he made a very deliberate. If you look at what the Roman salute, which is where the Nazis got that from, what that looks like, lots of people online have done the comparisons, the side by side in video. It's a Nazi salute. Mm-hmm. I will die on that hill. And I'm sorry that the ADL, which is, I don't understand what
started.
I don't know what they're doing, trying to make excuses and telling all of us to calm down. I'm sorry.
I couldn't believe that.
Very disappointing response.
I could not believe that, and to the point of weakness versus courage, standing up against this stuff too, and believing our eyes and our ears. I I think it's important that we talk about the bishop.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, this is so, I'm so glad that you have this.
Yes,
Because you want to talk about courage. This is a way for us to wrap it up on a good note, that there are people out there that actually are willing to step up and do the right thing. And I think there's going to be a lot more of us as this righteous anger builds up more, because it's not even a full week, folks.
Yeah. and yeah, I'm sorry, when my Chrome crashed, I lost all my uploads, and I'm loading it right now. Good Lord.
I'll set it up. Oh, you got it?
There it is. Make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families.
Look at their faces.
Some who fear for their lives.
Katie Vance.
And the people.
Well,
the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals. They may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
Fantastic.
Bravo.
And of course, Trump was angry and wrote mean things about her and is saying mean things about her. But let me tell you, first of all, those Episcopalians, a lot of inclusivity going on over there. Big fan. Yep. And to hold the mirror up to someone's face when they're sitting there in front of you and squirming and they cannot get up and they cannot leave and they cannot say anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, if more people with power and influence in this country did what she did, we would be in a very different place. And I say all that to say, and I know we got to get going here. So I just want to list off a couple other things we wanted to talk about tonight. One being the Health and Human Services, the NIH, what's going on with frozen communications, external communications from the FDA, the CDC. So if there's a food recall or if there is a virus going, we're not going to be able to know about it because Donald Trump has frozen all of this because RFK Jr. apparently we're going to be waiting for, for his presence. I don't even know what to say.
Captain conspiracy theorists over there. Yeah.
Right. They're more interested in executive orders about declassifying the assassination files of John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr., because, that's really important. And
yeah, that's really going to bring down the price of eggs.
Yeah. And I wanted to share this too. This is Jack Schlossberg.
Your favorite.
So funny. He's like a Bouvier. He's not a Kennedy. And I mean, if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. He's very Grey Gardens and I'm obsessed. But, he said JFK conspiracy theories. He's John F. Kennedy's grandson, by the way. The truth is a lot sadder than the myth, a tragedy that didn't need to happen. not part of an inevitable grand scheme. Declassification is using JFK as a political prop when he's not here to punch back. There is nothing heroic about it, Jack. You know, and that's the thing. It's like, you know, I know we talk about the Kennedys in this thing, but you know, there is a family. There is Caroline, and she's all alone. She's lost her brother. She's lost her mom, her dad. You know, I feel for her to have to relive this trauma over and over and over again. And same with Robert F. Kennedy's family as well, and Martin Luther King Jr.'s family. I mean, every time that this happens, it's just, you know, it's not right. And these conspiracy theorist people are crazy. And
it's giving them, it's platforming the crazies. Yes,
I know.
These are the tinfoil hat people. Okay, these are the people that wander around in the desert in New Mexico thinking they're communing with like aliens.
Yep.
So we're giving these, so Donald Trump is giving a nod to all of these wackadoodles and mainstreaming them. Like, stop this.
Yeah,
this is what this guy's going to use his second term to do, because he doesn't have any guardrails. He doesn't have to get elected again. He doesn't have anyone to answer to, and it just needs, like, for the Democrats and for people like that bishop, you know, start standing up and holding the mirror up, because that's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take, all of us, righteous anger. And with a couple more.
To believe what you see, to believe what you hear, and don't let anyone try to tell you otherwise.
That's right.
And eggs are up, what, 3 to 5% right now since the inauguration? I mean, hello. It was never about the eggs. I was going to play
is up too.
About that too. Brian Schatz addressing the reporters in Congress too. And that's just another banner I want to put up to follow these 3 senators.
Yes.
Follow Senators Chris Murphy of Connecticut, Cory Booker of New Jersey, and Brian Schatz of Hawaii. Follow them on all the platforms, because I'm telling you right now, these 3 guys are the only ones that are putting forth really positive or effective and real messaging, and they're really putting a lot of thought and work into it, and it's exactly what everybody needs to be doing. So we're big fans. Go and follow them.
Yes.
You know,
and make sure you follow us. Again, we are reiterating, please follow us everywhere. Like and subscribe us on YouTube, because that helps the algorithm and it pushes us out to other folks, because we've got to spread the word. The more, the merrier. We've gained followers already this year. We've gained viewers for the show already. We're only, you know, a couple weeks into January. We're so grateful to everyone for that. But at Seneca Project US, everywhere. And if you would like to continue to support us as we are beginning to reconstitute and recalibrate, at senecaproject.us, there you can donate there and help continue to fund our coffers so we can keep putting out new content and spreading the word. So we want to say thank you to everyone. And the last thing is Donald Trump pulled us out of the WHO on the whole health thing, which is crazy too. So this is, like, God forbid there's another pandemic or something like that. We won't be in the WHO with the rest of the world working together to try to fix it. Just stay tuned, because NATO is next.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. So we'll see what Republicans do then.
Pulled all the national security people out. What are 160?
160. And also, I called this as well, pulling the Secret Service protection of John Bolton and of Mike Pompeo and others who are under serious threat from the Iranians. Regardless of how you feel about them politically or personally, their lives are threatened. And Donald Trump said, F you, I don't care, and pulled their security details and pulled security clearances and threw out a bunch of national security staff. And so they have Project 2025. Go Project 2025. They said they didn't know what it was. They're implementing it as we speak. So we will continue to shine a light on that, and we will continue to fight back and build this army of Amazons, because that's the only way that we're going to be able to survive this and get prepared. So you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready, right? As our lovely Jasmine Crockett says. So on that, we will see you guys next week. Hopefully we'll get Harry Littman back on. We hope Harry's all right. I'm going to text him actually after the show now and make sure he's okay.
And next week we may or may not have a congressional candidate on that's going to be running for a special election. So we'll
replace your favorite Congresswoman, Michelle, Elise Stefanik. Yeah.
He is a farmer from the New York's 21st congressional district. He's a Democrat. He's a very sensible guy, young, and
he's a Giants fan.
And he's a Giants fan. We're very excited about him. So hopefully he'll be able to join us next week. And
we're doing the work. We're doing the work. Keep your heads up, everybody. Keep your heads up. We're all in this together, and the fight continues. We'll see you next week.
Mass deportation.
Largest deportation program in American history.
Travel ban. Muslim ban.
Confusion erupted at airports.
Clearing the streets of peaceful protesters.
This is now a political stunt.
The president saying, why don't we nuke them?
Floated the idea of buying Greenland.
Not ruling out military force to acquire Greenland.
30,000 separate lies.
Flushed printed pieces of paper down the toilet.
Lavish spending. Ethics investigations. Extortion.
Bribery. Brazen influence peddling.
Threatened to withhold aid for California wildfires.
The president isn't leading.
Poor me.
The president caves.
Disclosed highly classified information to the Russian foreign minister.
Seeming to grovel in front of Vladimir Putin.
He was not the patriot he should have been.
Americans are dead because the president delayed.
Refused to act.
Ignored those warnings.
There's no vaccine that is safe and effective.
Go have a good time, Bobby.
No guardrails.
There are no independent agencies.
Surrounding himself with loyalists.
Answer to President Trump. We're going to come after the people in the media.
They should go to jail.
We are watching an attempted sedition.
I am your retribution.
All presidents have the power of what's known as the bully pulpit.
During this serious international crisis, President Trump was busy attacking women.
There's something wrong with the woman.
She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She's mean. She's crazy. She's vicious. She's lost it. She is incompetent.
President Donald Trump has attacked the British Prime Minister Theresa May.
He attacked Oprah Winfrey, Sally Yates,
Susan Rice.
Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski.
He called Maxine Waters low IQ.
She's a real beauty.
The president launching a personal attack on MSNBC host Mika Brzezinski.
Now he's attacking Omarosa, comparing her to a dog.
The president lashed out, calling Stormy Daniels, I'm quoting the president now, horseface. Remember the woman crying?
Martha Raddatz,
He attacks women reporters far more often than he attacks men.
You ask a lot of stupid questions. So horrid in the way you ask a question. You know you're a fake. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
The president also found time to launch a Twitter attack on Bette Midler.
He's attacking Jamel Hill.
Speaker Pelosi.
Hillary Clinton.
Michelle Obama. A 16-year-old climate activist.
He openly mocked Christine Blasey Ford.
What neighborhood was it in? I don't know.
President Trump is someone who knee-jerk attacks the credibility of female accusers.
She's made this charge against others.
Carol claims Trump assaulted her.
I saw her in a picture. She is not my type. Kamala Harris, she could never be the first woman president.
Do American women in this country, can they know that the president has their back?
Well, absolutely not, Katie.
I always thought women liked me.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the pussy.
I make this statement to the great women.
Questionable comments about a young girl.
You going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it? I am your protector.
Carol opening her testimony today saying, quote, I'm here because Donald Trump raped me.
I want to be your protector.
5 former Miss Teen USA contestants told BuzzFeed that Trump did in fact walk in on them while they were changing.
And so I sort of get away with things like that.
You will no longer be abandoned, lonely, or scared.
Donald held back Ivana's arms and began to pull out fistfuls of hair from her scalp.
You're not going to be in danger any longer.
I turned around and I see Donald standing there. I'm thinking, this son of a bitch just grabbed me.
Women will be happy, healthy, confident, and free.
Trump called Epstein a terrific guy, adding, it is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
You will no longer be thinking about abortion.
They're going to just let me bleed out here.
Do you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah. You will be protected, and I will be your protector. Women, I was able to terminate Roe v. Wade. I got rid of Roe v. Wade. Killing Roe v. Wade.
Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman, and Mark Zuckerberg pledging $1 million donations to the Trump Inauguration Fund.
The ABC settlement for $15 million.
The Los Angeles Times will soon be adding Scott Jennings to their editorial board after the owner is now calling for more conservative voices.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump.
John Fetterman saying he's a hard yes for Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, posting on Truth Social that he wants Donald Trump to get a pardon.
If there is a way to work with Doge or Elon Musk, I'm going to do that.
This could be a constructive undertaking that ought to be embraced.
Senator Bernie Sanders saying Elon Musk is right. Some Democrats telling ABC News their plan to defeat Republicans in the 2026 midterms is to play nice for now. It's time to buckle up, Buttercup, because it is about to be on and popping.
I would be worried about Hexbeth running a McDonald's, let alone the Department of Defense. Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio.
Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? It is disgusting.
I'm really interested in the Democrats rebuilding Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor in Virginia.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, a former U.S. Navy helicopter pilot who is now running for governor.
Laguna Pueblo member and Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland is expected to run for governor of New Mexico in 2026.
If Democrats are true to their values, they will do everything they can with the power that they have right now, which is limited, to prevent Donald Trump from doing the things that he's already announced he's going to do.